This just in, U.S. mortgage rates fall below 6% for the first time in years. It has been a long time since seeing that number just under 6%. So is it enough to move the needle and get people not only to be buying, but selling their homes? So let's bring in our next guest to help break it all down right here from MarketWatch, Alisa Wolfson. Great to have you on, Alisa. Yeah, it's great to have that number under 6, but a lot of people thinking, okay, how much lower can it go?
Well, I'm not sure it can go that much lower, but this is definitely a pivotal moment because we haven't seen rates this low since 2022. So we're nearly 4 years that we've seen rates in the 6s and 7s. And now that we're seeing a high 5, I haven't typed that 5-digit in one of my mortgage prediction stories in nearly 4 years.
Yeah, that's a good thing right there to have that under 6. But you know, for the homeowners who have those beautiful under 3%, maybe they have the 3%. I mean, they're not going to be budging, right?
No, for anyone who has those real low mortgage rates, and still even today in the 5s and 6s, those are historically low rates. I think people tend to forget that in the 80s, rates were what we would now consider to be through the roof. So rates are still technically pretty low, but that won't move the needle for those who have incredibly low, 2-3% rates.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because we were showcasing a story from the 70s and the 80s, and people were talking about their mortgage rates, and 13, 15% were some of the numbers there.
Yes. And I mean, if those numbers hit now, I can't even imagine what kind of, frenzy would occur, and people would think it's the end of times. So by comparison, yes, from 3% to 6 or 7%, that is, meaningful difference. For anyone who has purchased, though, in the last couple years and has a 7% rate refinancing now with that, 5-digit in front, it's a great time to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Some of those people have 7s or high 6s at this moment here. We heard from President Trump at the State of the Union earlier this week talking about home affordability, but he also mentioned that he doesn't want the people that have the homes to lose value. So how is that going to work out?
Well, I think, it'll really depend what happens in the market with, what we see continuing to happen with mortgage rates. And I think right now through March, I've just done a prediction story saying that they'll probably remain pretty flat at this point. But seeing that 5 and even low 6s will bring more buyers into the market. And it may encourage sellers to list their properties as well and, not feel so stuck where they've been over the last few years.
Yeah, that is so true. And, it comes at a moment when we were talking about, home prices right now. And for some, it's still cheaper to rent. When do you think that is going to be a changer for, once again, home ownership will be a little bit cheaper to rent?
Right. Well, I think, that's really a question for the real estate economists. And I tend to write about the consumer aspect of things. And I'm renting myself right now. My home burned down in the Palisades fire. And I can tell you that in Los Angeles, where I am, renting is definitely more affordable than buying a home. And I'm happy to see, interest rates come down a bit. And I think it will make a big difference for people who have been on the sidelines for the last few years and unable to pull the trigger on purchasing a home.
And no doubt about that. I'm sorry that you had to go through that horrible situation. But Alisa, thank you so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox, giving us a perspective of that beautiful number now, at least in the high 5s.
Thank you.
You take care.